Welcome to Employed and Rich. As employees, we think about money differently. And one question we ask is, can I ever achieve financial success or become rich working on my job? Well, let's take this question to the workplace to find answers. Okay, so employed and rich, right? I know that wealth creation, becoming rich is a journey. And but for you, you've grown through the ranks as an employee of the organization. And what would you say is the major financial success principle? Maybe first start by telling us your story and how you were able to grow through the ranks. Because like I always say, there's nothing we're managing if we don't make the income first of all. So please, can you share your experience a bit?
Right. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about something that's really important to me. My story. So my name is Oiza Nicholson. I am the country director for Palladium in Nigeria, which is a global consulting company. In terms of my, I would say, professional experience, it started 20 odd years ago. I came from a family of 4, and I'm the first. So, in the Nigerian context, there's always a lot of pressure on the first, especially if you're a girl. Exactly. When I finished from university, I read geology and mining, and so I had told myself I was going to be on the oil rig. I would be somewhere on the oil rig, climbing mountains. Those are the things that, those are the things that I thought, but that's not quite how it worked out. Finish school, then you get into the job market. And I finished school and went a while without any job. And I remember the first job that someone said I should come and apply for was a receptionist at an embassy. And I remember thinking, me, a receptionist at an embassy? Well, I didn't look down necessarily, but I just thought I was going to be on an oil rig. And I actually passed it up. I said I wasn't going to do it. And I remember having a conversation with my mom. And she said, what have you got to lose? At least it gets you out of the house. And I then applied for the role. I got the role. And I remember when they were telling me I'd gotten the job, I wasn't particularly enthused about it. But I started it, and I think that I thank God for it because it was an important journey. Working in that organization, I met my husband. Wow. But importantly, I started to, the thing that I've always had is the appetite for learning. I've always thought that you can, there's more. There's always more, I've always thought that you can grow yourself. I've always thought about investing in myself, not from a selfish point of view, but when I say investing, I'm talking about upskilling, becoming valuable. And on that first job, I found that within the workspace, I had the opportunity to learn computer skills. And so I started to teach myself a lot of those things on Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, whatever it was. I would play around with them, but use them to prepare office documents. Even if it was as simple as developing a telephone tree, I would just design it to the best of my ability, make it look all pretty. And people started taking notice. So something as simple as a telephone tree or documents, not necessarily technical documents. People started taking notice and said, we like what you're doing. Come and replicate it here. And very soon after, I then got another job in HR, which was, although it wasn't necessarily the line I wanted to go through, within the same organization. And I then learned a lot about HR at that point. But then the time between that job and because I was always applying, I was always, I think one other thing that I always did was really looking at, I never let anybody tell me there was anything I couldn't do or be if I set my mind to it, and if God had laid it in my heart. And so I was applying for jobs within the same organization, but it took me 9 times, 9 jobs, 9 applications within that same organization to then move into something I really was interested in. And that was as a trade advisor, working on trade and investment, building partnerships between international and national Nigerian companies. And after that, moved with my husband to another state in Nigeria, and for a year didn't have a job.
Wow. So tell us about that part. That's how did you feel? What was it like for you to be without a job?
It was initially, when we moved, I just thought, oh, well, let me take the time, enjoy myself, and be maybe, I don't know if lady of leisure is the correct word, but take some time to breathe. And my husband would say, yeah, just relax, you can relax for now. After 3 months, I couldn't stand it, because I had to be engaged, I had to be doing something. So it was pretty tough. I started to apply for jobs. The jobs weren't coming in. I wasn't getting interviewed. So I started to apply for jobs that didn't require a degree. Yeah, and I didn't even get called for those. So I got to a point of, I was feeling quite down on my luck. But I would say one thing that I would do was I could talk a lot. Even though I'm introverted, I could talk a lot as far as career and growth was concerned. And I happened to meet a lady at the time, and we just got talking. I didn't know who she was. She was a head of an organization at the time, but we were going to watch a football match apparently, and we liked football. No, my husband liked football. I was just accompanying them, and so we got talking. And then we exchanged numbers, and one day she sent me an opportunity that was available in her organization. Bearing in mind, I didn't know who she was at the time. Still, I just, happened to meet her. And got to the interview and realized she was the head of the organization, an international donor organization at the time. But notwithstanding, I went through the interview process. It was a grueling interview process. And I happened to get the job, which was by God's grace, because in the organization, you didn't necessarily rise through the ranks. So to come in straight into a leadership, or will I say mid-management role, was quite unusual. It was tough. The first 6 months were tough just because even though I was employed, because I had the competencies, and remember, I'd been taking all these courses, project management, trade and investment, etc. And so that then got me into that organization. I did well in the role. And from there, had quite a lot of exposure, a lot of challenge, but a lot of exposure. But within the organization, I was allowed to grow, which set me up for the role that I'm in now, really. So here we are.
Yeah, and that's 20 years.
It is
20 years journey. So it's pointed to the fact that we have to grow through the ranks. Mm-hmm. We have to have good work ethics, because those are the things that determine exactly how fast you grow within an organization and then how much you earn.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So moving on quickly, can you share with us your top 3 financial principles that you have used and have worked for you over the years, that makes you feel like, oh, I've done well for myself. Not everybody is there yet, but I've achieved the level of success financially. What are those 3 major principles that you've applied?
Okay. First, I'm going to offer a disclaimer. I'm not there yet, but, God has been faithful. For me, faith is a big part of, I guess, my financial as well as career journey. And it depends on what works for you, but within the faith that I believe in, it really talks about giving back and sowing and, helping others, advancing the lives of others. And so I believe in that. My faith teaches about tithing. and giving, to causes that are important. And so that's something that foundationally I've, by the grace of God, always done, because I believe there's a important scripture in the Bible, and it talks about when you give your first, then when the first is holy, the rest is holy, right?
Yes.
And for me, that's like, it gives the assurance that you can multiply the rest will be protected and it'll be multiplied. So foundationally, for me, it starts from that, because at any point in my life, I've always I didn't come from a rich background, I won't say that, but things do tend to, doors open, let me put it that way. And assistance comes through, or help comes through. And then the other thing is, I do believe in delayed gratification. And what I mean by that is, sometimes you might want something. So I grew up with cousins that would maybe buy clothes and bags on credit. I don't necessarily talk that down, but for me, because we all look for credit for a mortgage or a car, that's different. But I've never been of that mindset. So I would save. I remember there was a dining table that I wanted to buy in my house, and I loved it so much. And I could have gone to get, at the time, I wasn't as buoyant for that table that I wanted to pick up. And I remember saving. I saved for 18 months for this table because I liked it.
Why didn't you get a loan? You can have it now. Why wait for 18 months to save up for it?
Well, technically, because the table itself is kind of a liability, isn't it? It's not necessarily an asset that's going to grow, right? So if it's an asset that's going to grow, say a house, I could take credit for it, And so I just saved. I made you take your finances, you take out the part that's going to be the tithe that I talked about, and then you make pockets. So I also have like different accounts for different things, whether it's different projects. A housing project, you have an account for that. You have an account for groceries. You have an account for investments. You have different account for the different things. And I can also use that account to save up for something.
There's a saying, a quote that says, whatever you can't save up for, you don't deserve it yet.
Yes.
But the challenge we have today is a lot of people want everything now, the phone now, shoes now. And so they get into a lot of debts that is very detrimental to their finance. All right, so please go on.
Yeah, and you're so right. Another thing that I do that has helped me is investing in yourself. I think I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but in getting the right skill sets that then make you valuable, hopefully for an employer that appreciates that and is willing to remunerate that.
Sorry to cut you, but I found out that most of the problem we have with employees is not that the availability of jobs, is their unemployability. And in my book, I mentioned that problem because it takes you sometimes 6 months, 1 year to fill a role.
Yes.
And so the question is, what's the problem? I have a job. There's a job for someone or jobs, but I can't find the right fit. So that aspect of skills and being valuable is very important, and working on yourself. There's a quote by Jim Rohn, I love it so much. It says that to improve, for example, if you want to double your value to the marketplace, you just need to double the level of inputs that you put in. Money is a science. It's something that you can almost calculate it. If you do this, this will happen. Because money is an outcome, it's not what we chase. So a lot of employees don't realize that how they work, where they are, it determines how much money they earn.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's what you're absolutely right. It's what is going to make an employer promote you into a higher job, because showing that you can manage even the employer's resource. So there's something else that I do. I always say to my team that if it was your money, how would you deal with it? So I really do believe in that. Being a steward and a custodian of finances, not just for yourself. If you're able to take care of somebody else's finances, then, somebody's going to take care of yours or help you build yours. I don't mean that, you're not going to be involved in building yours, but it's that stewardship that's important. So you might find me always asking my team, well, could we have gotten it, cheaper? And cheaper isn't always better, but it's looking for what's the right price for the right quality. And even in being efficient with resources, if one person can do that job, why take three? Right? So I'm always talking about efficiency, and my team get a bit tired of that. But I think it's really important. What's the actual resource, whether that's in time or financially, that's needed to execute that, so that we're not wasteful, Because if you're not wasteful, you're able to then save and gather that and make that money go further.
Yes. Amazing. So from what you shared with us today, your top three, it's giving, tithing, first fruits, whatever seeds you have to sow and all of that based on your faith. Number two is saving money and investing in assets. And number three is, you also mentioned delayed gratification. I find that is a lot of problem today with a lot of employees. So we move quickly to the part where we get to know you more as our guests on the show. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and then you can tell us the answers. So would you say you like to eat in or eat out?
I like both, I would say, but if there's a preference, I do like eating in because I love cooking myself. Cooking is one of my hobbies. I love to explore recipes and things like that. So I do like to eat in, yes.
So how do you balance that with your work schedule to cook?
We're growing every day, but it's managing a schedule. So I have maybe days that I do all the cooking, or prepping, if you like. Then during the week, it's then, maybe I've marinated some chicken over the weekend. And then during the week, I just pop it into the oven. And finding things that are healthy and easy to cook. So not necessarily fast food. I love burgers, but I make my own burgers, and I think I make the best burgers ever.
Really? I'd love to try that someday.
So it's cooking and staying in. Yeah.
Staying in. Okay, so would you rather sleep, take a nap, or just stay indoors or go out?
I think it's interesting. By nature, I'm naturally introverted. So I'm inclined to stay in, watch a movie or read a book or something. But then I found that I've had to balance that, because if you're in a leadership role, you have to balance that with a lot of networking, being out there. So even though that's not a political answer, I would say my preference is to stay in, but I've learned behavior has allowed me to also keep a balance.
Yeah. Okay, and it seems like when you stay in more, you save more money, right?
Well, yeah, you do. Actually, it's true. You do.
All right, so clothes or jewelries?
I think I'm a clothes kind of person. I can be adventurous with it. I like jewelry, but I'm the sort of person that probably uses the same set of jewelry. I'll use the same bag. So instead of buying many bags, sometimes it can be a waste because I just take the same thing all the time. So I think I'm more adventurous with clothes.
Clothes, nice. So before we go, I'd like to ask you, do you think as an employee you can be employed and rich?
Absolutely. I do think so. And it's linked to habits and decisions. I heard of a saying once that we're a product of the decisions that we make. So, and the decisions also, link into your habits, So I do believe it's about creating the structures. It's about having a goal, setting goals and meeting them. And I think if you do that, certainly you will be appreciated by your employer. That's one thing. They'll be happy to give you the pay at the end of the month because you delivered the job, right? Yes, exactly. But then having a saving culture and importantly investing allows you to be employed, but at the same time gives you the opportunity to make your money work for you, and then you're making passive income whilst you're employed.
Yes, so you're married, and a final one. You mentioned behind the scenes how your husband is like a balance for you when it comes to investment decisions. Would you please share how that works for the family?
Yeah, I'm the sort of person, I believe that money will always find something to do. It will always find something to do. So whilst I believe in saving, I am, there are people that will put money in a bank account and watch it grow. I feel I'd rather make that money work for me and invest it in something. Now, it isn't necessarily right or wrong. My husband is a saver. He will have a target and he will save for it. Maybe because I'm a bit of a risk taker, I'll say, let us invest or let us do something like that. And sometimes, it can be a bit of a risk that maybe it's not time for. And I'm balanced out by my husband, who might say, okay, look, perhaps we make that investment, but let's do this first. And I think it works. We balance each other out because at the same time, if you're asset rich and not so rich in cash, when opportunities present themselves, you then have to perhaps go liquidate an asset rather than having the cash to invest. So it really balances out in that way.
And one of the things you can do is to have the cash in a high yield savings account and an investment that is easily accessible as well. So it's just not sitting in the bank and earning nothing at all. Wow, it's been an amazing time chatting with you. I believe that employees can be employed and rich, and that's why we decided to take this to the workplace to ask executives what principles they've applied that has helped them or that have helped them to grow through the ranks and to attain the level of financial success that they have. Thank you so much, Oiza, for your time. We appreciate it.
And thank you for the opportunity.